Dr. Amy Beard is a friend and multi-time guest on the Sowing Prosperity podcast. As an MD and former dietitian, she has a really unique view on especially the raw milk situation we've got going on, but she has that functional medicine lens that she can throw on there. And this is a conversation that includes all kinds of things as we go for solutions for the people. Dr. Amy Beard, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us. I think we have a pretty important conversation that we need to have, and your perspective is greatly appreciated. So can you just kind of briefly tell us that experience that you have from the dietetics point of view, the MD side, and then more of that functional side that you've been embracing?
Sure. So, when you're going through the dietetics education and training, it doesn't really mesh well with reality, in many ways, not just with raw milk. So, it's, we were taught to, raw milk was dangerous. It had to be pasteurized and homogenized and so forth. And which struck me as silly because I was like, but I just had raw milk at my great aunt and uncle's house, and I'm still alive and they've been drinking it since they were, could. And so that was one of many things that kind of struck me. And of course it's going to be repeated in the medical school training as well, right? Because they're all on the same page. And many things did not sit well with me in dietetics training and medical school. And most people know how I feel about that. And what I've learned in the functional medicine, when I've practiced as a functional medicine physician, and I had these patients coming to me who could not tolerate store-bought milk at all. And many of my patients can't. They'll tell you, it hurts my stomach. It makes me sick. I get eczema. I get headaches, or there's a lot of things that happen. And then they'll say, but when I had raw milk, none of that happened. And so they were tolerating it just fine. And that has been the case with many, many patient experiences. So I'm just, what I've been taught is not playing out clinically and professionally from what I'm seeing.
With so much of the issues we face, it's almost everybody that I talk to has some sort of a gastric issue. It's some sort of a digestion problem. And that is what a lot of the complaints are, And so in your experience, before we get more into the specifics of raw milk, can you go through your thinking on why you have the total gut job, the protocol that you do? Why do you feel like that's where we need to start?
Well, of course, gut function is for me one of the foundations of your health, because your GI tract and the bacteria, the microbiome that exists within it has a huge influence on your immune system, which then influences the majority of your health. And so if it is not functioning like it was designed to do, you're going to have problems. So that's why we always address gut function and microbe and try to reach microbial balance and optimal microbial balance, because when you do that, a lot of the symptoms that patients come to me with resolve. And they're not just GI related. It's not just diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain. It's joint pain, headaches, anxiety. The blood sugars are better, and so it's like, wow, this is just you have to start there. And when you do, a lot of the chronic issues go away. And then what's remaining kind of gives you a better indication of where you need to go looking next.
Because when we get kind of the allopathic solutions, so to speak, it's typically antacids, proton pump inhibitors, increase fiber, or have surgery. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what most of the standard of care seems to go towards. And what I have seen, what I've experienced, and this is, again, country boy side of the road, people just seem to trust me, is it doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. So the country boy common sense advice that I give is, hey, let's clean up that diet. Don't eat the junk. Don't eat the processed flours, the vegetable oils, and all the extra sugars. Eat more of a local, seasonal, natural diet. Look at magnesium, because constipation is such a massive, massive issue, and a really good probiotic. And Dr. Beard, that super simple approach seems to help people so much more than Prilosec, Tums, and surgery.
And that was what I was offered when I was in my 30s. And I had struggled with GI issues among a lot of other problems for most of my life. And that was always what was recommended: more fiber, proton pump inhibitors, and other medications to help GI motility. And then I had most of my colon removed, And so I think a lot of it is that simple doesn't sell. People think they need that. They're just missing that magic supplement combination or that magic pharmaceutical that's going to make all of their issues go away. When in fact, it's just like you said, eat real, unadulterated, seasonal food as God intended. Our bodies recognize those things. They're not the other stuff they're adding to the food, all the preservatives, the food dyes, the GMO ingredients, the high fructose corn syrup. Our guts do not recognize that as something that is beneficial for us, and they recognize it as basically a poison and foreign invader. And so the immune system is going to mount an attack on that. And then boom, you've got systemic inflammation that expresses itself in a variety of ways.
So many different ways. So when you eat whole foods, especially if they're sourced seasonally and locally, it's impossible to centralize that. It's absolutely impossible to centralize local and seasonal. So with that being said, I feel like this whole raw milk conversation goes back to this centralized problem. So all of the things, so I've been viciously attacked, right? Like Lord only knows what kind of attacks you've had, but I have been viciously attacked. Like I am trying to spread liquid white death to the world and forcing everybody to drink raw milk. It's insanity. But the pushback I get is missing a really important historical context in that the problems, for the vast most part, arose around the centralizing industrial model of what milk was as city populations began to grow, right? So they're taking all kinds of cattle, putting them in a non-natural environment. So sick cows living all kinds of together right there beside people in cities, and then we're putting thousands of different cows' milk together and distributing that to a city. Of course there's going to be problems, right? And so that's where this white death is coming from. So what are your thoughts on this? Like the centralized aspect versus the more local approach and the lack of control. How much of all of that factors into your view of looking at raw milk?
So I always, whenever you have the latest and greatest biohack, let's just say, or diet or some type of alternative practice, I always think back ancestrally and historically. When have humans done this? Have humans done this? What's the history there? And raw milk has been consumed since day one. That's just, it's been used to make cheeses and yogurts and all kinds of other things that are delicious. And like you said, I think more localized production is the key, because just think when things go wrong on the centralized level, it's disastrous. I mean, you're talking about large amounts of food that has to be completely disposed of, and that has impacted lots of people. So if it's more, and I'm thinking about, safety, right? Because that's everybody's biggest concern with raw milk is safety. So if if it's more localized and something goes wrong at this particular farmer's location, it's easy to track. Like, that's it. That's the source, and everybody seems to think that we should live in a world where you are completely free from any type of risk and harm. And that's impossible to achieve. I can go out in my garden. We use manure in our garden, rabbit manure, whatever we have. There's always a risk of contamination there, just from picking vegetables and not, so it exists. It always has. But I don't get this whole uproar about raw milk. To me, is not being thought about logically by people who are opposed to it. And I don't know if it's just that type of person who is prone to fear, and I feel like it's kind of maybe the germaphobes in our midst, or the ones who completely trust the government officials, who I'm like, how many times do they have to mess up before you lose trust in them? Just think about this for a little bit, use some common sense.
Absolutely. I think that when we have healthy animals and common sense sanitation and handling practices, raw milk is unbelievably safe.
And you always hear about that one time when it went awry. Nobody discusses all the times when everything worked just as it was supposed to.
Right.
And that's what gets all the attention.
So as this has gained momentum, because there's a lot of people in Arkansas that have gotten worked up, and I actually just had a family from Ohio drive down because they want to see what we are doing to try to make people be able to have access to it, right? That's the other side of this equation. I don't understand. If you don't want to drink raw milk, nobody's trying to force you, but why would you limit somebody else's liberty, right? Ability to choose if they want it or not. Like, to me, that's the craziness about all of this. But as we've garnered more awareness and attention, the solution is something I want to focus on, right? And to me, it's like, hey, let's just create awareness. So the conversation with you is so important because you have a wide range of experience and you've seen how it's helping people. So can you go into a little bit more on what you have seen because you work with a lot of people and you have worked with a lot of people over the years. What are you seeing when we go back to more of this ancestrally appropriate diet, especially when we're including kefir, raw milk? I mean, it's just, what are you seeing?
People get better. People literally get better when they start ignoring all the horrible advice they're getting from the pharma-captured medical system and the big pharma-captured food system. When they push back against that and take on this eat real food, they get better. I see it every day. And it's, you always have those that are a little leery at first and they just don't believe it, that it's, the FDA approved this. It's got to be safe for me. I don't know, but you kind of have to go and have some deeper discussions about all of that. But once they try it and they start feeling better, they're sold. They never go back. And they become mouthpieces for the movement because it has affected their lives so drastically. Your health, I mean, if you don't have your health, you don't have much, you know? Health is such a huge blessing. And it's something that everyone can attain, but you have got to push back on what you've been taught by entities that really do not have your best health. They don't care about it. Okay, it's money. That's what they care about, and I think it's hard for people to grasp because I think most people are very honest and trusting, and they're good, and they just can't fathom that these industries would literally put money over health. And I think I think the people who are having the hardest time with this are maybe still caught in that mindset.
I think you're spot on with that. So what I want to see happen for us in Arkansas is that we roll back the regulations a lot, like a whole lot on the small farmers, the small producers. Now, what I didn't say there was that anybody should be able to produce gangrenous milk and feed it to people, right? Like there's accountability, but I really think that, my opinion, that a free market is going to weed out the bad players.
Absolutely.
They're not going to have a market. And so
Absolutely.
the consumer can take on the risk. And I think that when you know your neighbor, right? Like, I don't know who the milk I go to get at a grocery store, where that milk came from. I have no idea. But if you know the dairy, whether it's me selling the dairy, being the marketing and retail piece of the dairy, I know that dairy. Right. I know that the 8 cows they have, they intimately know their cows and the health of them and everything. There's accountability there. Like, I can't go hide somewhere. I can't move where I am. So I feel like the free market absolutely is going to take care of itself, but it can't be centralized. And so where do you think that we can have some sort of a common sense approach to safety and production that doesn't hinder the local food system from really being the resilient foundation that our communities need?
And like you said, there's far too much government overreach. They seem like they have their hands in absolutely everything and have taken on this whole we know best attitude, and that's simply not true. It's not. And you probably know more about this than I do, but because we were talking one day, and the regulations that have been imposed on small farmers is to drive them out of business.
Yes.
But that's been the case with almost everything that's being produced now. It's to eliminate the small guy and let the big guys run and own everything. And if you keep supporting that and stop supporting your small farmers who are they want to do the right thing. They don't want to kill anybody. That's their business. They don't want to incur the wrath that's going to happen if their product harms somebody. And so that's going to take care of itself. You don't need to police these people. They don't want that to happen. I'm sure there's some psychopaths out there, but that's extreme. That's the rare circumstance. But I've got a lot of psychopaths in the government, much more than the local level. But the legislators have got to start working for us, the people they were supposed to work for in the beginning. And I don't know how you go about pushing back on all the big business control over our government. It seems like it's just they're in everybody's pockets, and people are very easily bought off. And And I didn't mean to go so doom and gloom, but it just, I see it all the time, you know? So the, there's going to have to be a fight to take back our rights as consumers to choose what we want to consume and how to live our lives. It's not the government's business. We're allowed the pursuit of happiness, right? And so, but man, we have gotten so far away from the intentions of the original founders that our lives are being micromanaged, completely micromanaged. And I think the raw milk debate could be the catalyst for going after other things that are being micromanaged as well. So it's a fight worth fighting.
It really is. And that's why I don't have a problem with being the raw milk guy, right? Like, honestly, to me, I didn't care about raw milk. It's not about the raw milk per se. It's more about don't kill these farmers for trying to survive, right? Don't tell us that we can't buy it or dictate every step of the way at the guise of public safety, because that's not what it is. It's about how we started this on: you can't control and centralize a decentralized network. And that's what it is. When you decentralize with local and how you approach, you can't control it. And that honestly, to me, is the problem. And if you can't control it, you can't profit from it.
And I'm tired of people calling what we have capitalism right now. Like, oh,
yeah,
look at capitalism doesn't work. We don't have This is not unadulterated capitalism. This is crony capitalism. And I would say probably socialism at this point. So don't just because you say we're a capitalist society, that doesn't make it true. And, you know, my husband is a farmer. I live in a community of farmers. They are doing the best they know to do to raise healthy animals. They care about their animals. These are small scale farmers. These aren't farmers who have thousands and thousands and thousands of acres who don't really care. They just want to raise some cows, ship them off, put them in huge stockyards. They don't really care about, it's the money. It's owned by corporations. And so that's just not happening with small farmers. I've talked to too many of them. I'm married to one. My husband treated his animals better than anybody I knew. And he's got some stories of just about, he built a slaughter facility for his chickens. And the regulations were crazy. They wanted him to build an office with a bathroom for the inspector to come to check out his chickens. And they were going to check every single one of his chickens. And my husband was like, well, do you do that at the Tyson farms who have like 2,000 chickens at this one farm? And the guy literally had the nerve to tell Paul that, yes, they inspect every single chicken on that day that they come. 2,000 chickens, and they inspect every one of them. But that's, again, the regulations that they impose on people who just want to make a living and provide good quality food. They make it impossible.
It's that cost of compliance that makes it unattainable for the smaller farmers. So to your point, the four corporations control 80% of the beef supply.
That is insane.
It's insane. There should be abattoirs or butcher shops everywhere, right?
Yes.
That it should be a completely decentralized, community served basis. So I want to tie this in, because sometimes I think that the word centralized or decentralized, maybe it's a little too confusing and don't fully understand. So another way that I like to describe this is: how many doctors are independent versus work for a group or a corporation?
When I first went into private practice, I know at that time it was about 10% of physicians were private practice. And it was they were slowly either retiring or getting sucked up by the corporate healthcare system. So I don't know what that statistic is now. I know there's been a lot of doctors, even ones that I graduated with in my residency program, who have gone into direct primary care, which is encouraging to see, but it's still, I'd probably say it's less than 10% easily.
So what does that mean if a physician is a part of say the group or corporation? Does that mean they have freedom to treat their patient the way that they deem best?
No. I mean, you've got to toe the line, especially if you're going to be in that insurance market. So you've got to check all the boxes on the screen, document certain things exactly, put in the right diagnoses codes, to pass the smell test and not get audited and have to change stuff. They have reduced the medical profession at the MD level to just a person who clicks things on a computer screen and then prescribe a medication or refer somebody to a specialist or recommend a procedure. That's all it's come down to. And now you're seeing the role becoming more of MDs are now managing PAs and nurse practitioners. So they're the ones that are actually seeing the patients, and the doctors are just kind of overseeing things. And something that's happened within the last several years, people may not be aware of, is that your pharmacists are now able to prescribe medications directly to patients. Not a medical director, PA, or nurse practitioner, but the pharmacists themselves can do that. They can prescribe antivirals. Sometimes they can prescribe blood pressure medications, diabetes medications. Of course, we know they can, you can go get your vaccines there. And the pharmacy assistant can give those to you. So I just keep seeing it becoming just this conveyor line of just, how do we get pills and injections into people as quickly as we can with people who of the lowest training possible. Nothing. Now that's not a I'm not demeaning PAs and nurse practitioners in any way, or pharmacists. Okay, these are very smart people. They've had a lot of training, but it's I just see the trend in this. The medical doctors are supposed to be the experts, right? But now we're being used as, quote, managing practices with nurse practitioners and PAs, and less and more of a hands-off type approach.
It seems more like, how do we, more like livestock, really. Like how do we run more through, spend less time, and maximize the profits? And I think that's why the model's failing and why so many people are sick, to tie into what we started with. We're starting to question and go different routes and having different results than what they were told they're supposed to get. And so one aspect of the raw milk that I have found absolutely incredible is their the bioactives, right? The things in milk that are compounds or molecules that have an impact on biology. So you say ceruloplasmin, lactoferrin, IgG. We've got lactase is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. So there's so many things, and what I find terrifying is that we have pharmaceutical companies isolating these things to patent and then turn around and try to use for us, versus an approach that's holistic. So what is going on there? What's going on there?
I mean, the answer is money. They're going to make money off of this stuff. They're not going to, if they can't patent it, and make money, it's just not going to happen. And they've done this with a lot of natural compounds, right? That's where they get all their ideas. That's how they learn they're getting their ideas from the things that are in nature. That is what is giving, and so, like you said, the pasteurization process, just destroying all the enzymes that help you digest it. The homogenation process is creating inflammation in the gut, and in a way where it causes gut permeability or leaky gut. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of problems when you drink homogenized and pasteurized milk.
It clicked for me on the homogenization when in cancer, it's you got to be careful about destroying it too fast, right? Because we have lysis syndrome, and so that is just simply the breakdown of the cells that basically create toxins within the body. That's exactly what homogenization is. It lyses the fat cells, which turns it into a not natural product. Part of the reason why it's such a problem. So it's just mind blowing to me that we are also so siloed in our thinking and education and systems that we can't simply put these little things together.
A lot of us have, but we're crazy. We're just way out there, it's they have taken something that is so nutritious and have made it into literal poison for most people. And they've done that with a variety of things.
But they had a really good campaign. It's got milk. It's good for you.
Yeah. That was a great one, wasn't it? Great.
Wasn't it?
Boy, they've had a lot of campaigns over the years that, you just look back and a lot of it's being turned on its head. So why would this be any different? We were giving thalidomide to people, spraying kids with DDT. Oh, and smoking cigarettes, good for you.
I heard doctors, they choose Camel? 9 out of 10 doctors choose Camel or whatever that was. Is unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. I want to tangent just a little bit. The Kellogg incident that's going on right now is this big boycott where we're all up in arms. And I'm not trying to minimize the positives people are going after, but the going after Kellogg to take out a couple ingredients that are garbage from a garbage product, anyways. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because to me, we're not really accomplishing anything other than creating noise that's not going anywhere.
It's a distraction. It's just putting lipstick on a pig. I mean, that's all you're doing. And I remember these cereal drives that I guess still continue, with a lot of the food banks. And I was sitting in a meeting with a bunch of cardiologists and cardiothoracic surgeons, and I'm not going to say which one who said this, but it was hilarious. They were like asking us to donate to the food bank and cereal, and he was just like, "Why don't you just call it the sugar diabetes drive?" And because that's what it is. It's just, I don't care if they remove a couple of ingredients or the dyes or whatever they're putting. It's still garbage. And so many children are eating it every day. And the teachers are wondering why their behavior is so crazy, and getting them diagnosed with ADD and other behavioral disorders. And it's just the trash that they're consuming. And removing one or two ingredients from it is not going to make it a healthy product. So it's just a bunch, like you said, it's just a bunch of noise. And maybe it's just an attempt to maybe kind of, I don't know what they're doing with that, really. I just think it's a big distraction.
It is. We have so many things going on. That's some of the attacks I have received is like, we're fighting over raw milk when there's such bigger problems in the world. And like, again, this is not about raw milk to me. It is the symbol of the liberty we're slowly losing more and more. And just, slowly, it's like the proverbial frog in hot water, right? Like they don't even realize that how hot the water is. And I don't want to be bleak either or doom and gloom, but like I feel like it's a very serious time, and we're on the edge of some scary things.
And I'm not anti-government. I don't want anarchy, but it's sometimes I just wonder if there's the majority of people just like to be told what to do. And they just don't want to think for themselves. They just want somebody tell me what to do. I don't want to have to research. I just want to go live my life, have, whatever, seek pleasure, and just tell me what to do. And that's all I care about. And I feel like that's probably the mentality of a lot of people. I'm not one of those.
Unfortunately, that kind of can take us to
but
a whole
I don't
other
understand people who, if you got a problem with raw milk or whatever it is, like you said, nobody's forcing you to drink it. Yeah. Why do you care? Really, why do you care? These people are busybodies and don't have anything else going on in their lives. I don't guess.
But we're going to fight for the right of the consumers and fight for the right of the farmers, everybody. Let's just keep pushing forward as we just try to create the awareness and get the people. I think if we can just have the boat pointed in a direction where we're all rowing together, we put pressure on legislators to, hey, let's get common sense production. That's the solution. To me, that's the only way that we get real change, is say, hey, we're tired of dealing with this. It's, the Boston Tea Party. We're tired. We're done. Civil disobedience. Not saying go take up the pitchforks, but let's do what we need to do to push the legislators to make change that is in our best interest, not those big conglomerates.
There needs to be pressure put on people. A lot of pressure. And like I said, I'm not saying bring out the pitchforks, but you've got to make, I don't know if I should say this, but make them uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable because you're pressuring them so much. They don't want to deal with that. Eventually, I hope they cave. I'm like, all right, I give. You people want some freedom here. I'll give it to you. Leave me alone. That's how I kind of we need to make them feel and remind them that they work for us. And we can make your life a little less pleasurable if you don't work for us.
Yeah.
That is not a threat of violence or anything like that,
Yeah. No, but our voices need to be heard. I think that's part of what the positive change that we can make, and just going forward. It goes back to money again, and it's election time right now as we're filming this, and we got a lot of our politicians are up for re-election, and they're focused on that, and they got a lot that they're dealing with, but that money for those campaigns talks a lot. And so, a couple people complaining versus having the money to go towards a campaign, they're weighing a lot. It's just, man, I think that the complacency we have had as a society to allow them to get away with stuff is the problem. And I think we're waking up, and we're going to continue to push forward and create that awareness and the movement. It's I think we've got some positives that are happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to tell my dad about it, because he is not afraid to bug some politicians. He will email them, he will call them, and he will try to have face-to-face interactions with them so he can be heard. And I feel like we all need to start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody wants to work with you or be a part of your programs and what you do, where do we send them?
So they can visit the website, amybeardmd.com. All possible new patients are required to schedule a free exploratory call, because we just want to make sure that you understand the functional medicine process, our process, and that you're willing to give up the things that made you sick. And so we want to make sure that we're a good fit for one another. So we get off on the right foot. Because we don't want to waste your time and your money, and we don't want to waste our time. We are very serious about what we do. So when we take you on as a patient, we are dedicated to go on a journey with you to help you get well. So we want serious patients.
Love that. And something else that you have done is you've put together a journal for more of that faith-based approach and a program to go through. So how's that going? And do you care to give us a brief overview of that?
Oh, it's going great. So it's and I've got a copy behind me. This was not planned. I always keep it, but it's our Live Well course and planner. It's a 3-month program with a ton of podcasts that Paul and I shot, that we go over a variety of topics. And it's really putting forth what I feel are the foundations of good health. Like, this is where you start. And if you do these things and you incorporate them on a daily basis with God's involvement, because that for me is crucial. Okay. He made you, he designed you, he knows you better than anybody else. So he needs to be involved in this process. If you can incorporate those foundations, so many health problems would be resolved, and you may not even need to come in and see me. So I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to save people money. I really am. I'm probably, one of the only doctors out there who's literally trying not to get patients and trying to help them for a much better cost, because functional medicine is not cheap. I'm not involved in the insurance market for a variety of reasons. But this has gone well. We've had so many patients who have done this along with their family. They got the whole family involved. Like, we're just going to change the family's, health trajectory. Everybody's going to be on the same page. And the stories are just, they just make me smile, because that you're impacting people at such a wonderful level that it's changing the trajectory of lives. And
Amen.
Again, that's why I became a physician.
Amen.
So it's been a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. One thing I do want to give you kudos for, because I actually did disagree with you at the time, but you turned out to be right, was you mentioned biohacking earlier. And Dave Asprey was a huge influence on me very early on of Lander being diagnosed with cancer. And he was a proponent of metformin as a longevity drug. And you're like, no, absolutely not. This makes no sense. No. And I'm like, but what, Amy, look at this. No, no. So it has turned out that you were spot on. And so I just wanted to give you those kudos.
Well, I had no idea you felt that way, but thank you, I guess. I don't know,
No, I love it. Thank you for sticking true to what you believe.
Yeah, and I have no problem with ever admitting that I'm wrong. I've been duped a lot and have no problem saying that. But vindication is nice also, especially when you endured the last 4 years and got drugged through the mud, and all of a sudden you just give it a little time and you'll be vindicated.
You've been through it, sister. You definitely have. But thank you so much for your work and not being afraid to stand up for what you believe in. And very much grateful to call you a friend, and thank you for the time.
You're welcome. And if there's anything you ever need, my number.
Thank you for joining us in the Sowing Prosperity mission. If you like this content, like and subscribe, share with your friends. Be sure to check out sowingprosperity.com. Sign up for the email. We've got so much more work to do.